start.
Yes, Sabir, start from here. Thales thought that the source of all things was water.
Thales thought that the source of all things was water. We do not know exactly what he meant by that. He may have believed that all life organized from water, and that all life returns to water again when it dissolves. During his travels in Egypt, he must have observed how the crops began to grow as soon as the flood of the Nile receded from the land areas in the Nile Delta. Perhaps he also noticed that frogs and worms appeared whenever it had just been raining.
Okay, stop here. Back to what I had been saying earlier. Wherever it rains, plants start growing. Wherever water appears, worms appears also. Fish appears, frogs appears. Okay? Very mysterious. It's not always floods, by the way. In this case, it's flood, but it can happen from rainfall as well, apparently. Okay, continue.
It is likely that Thales thought about the way water turns into ice or vapor, and then turns back into water again. Thales is also supposed to have said that all things are full of good gods. What he meant by that, we can only surmise. Perhaps, seeing how the black earth was the source of everything from flowers and crops to insects and cockroaches, he imagined that the earth was filled with tiny invisible live germs. One thing is certain, he was not talking about Homer's gods.
Okay, so what Thales means by, what does he say? Gods. All things are full of gods. All things are full of gods. All things are full of gods. This God is not like the God we understand, or the gods we understand, however you may want to look at it. By gods, he's talking about things like the term he uses, the term that we find in this book is live germs. Basically, microscopic organisms. Yes. He cannot see with the naked eye, but he is already predicting there must be something that you cannot see with the naked eye in the soil and around us, which is causing all these changes. Okay, try to understand his contribution here. He is doing this just through logic. No microscopes. Microscope had not been invented yet. Just through logical reasoning, he's coming to the conclusion that there must be some kind of live germs or some kind of bacteria or things we cannot see with our naked eye, which are causing changes, which are responsible for these changes. Okay. Next.
The next philosopher we hear of the Anaximander, who also lived in Miletus at about the same time as Thales. He thought that our world was only one of a myriad of worlds, that evolve and dissolve in something he called the boundless. It is not so easy to explain what he meant by the boundless, but it seems clear that he was not thinking of a known substance in the way that Thales had envisaged. Perhaps he meant that the substance which is the source of all things had to be something other than the things created. Because all created things are limited, that which comes from and after them must be boundless. It is clear that this basic stuff could not be anything as ordinary as water.
Okay, so boundless. What we understand from the term boundless. What is it? This boundless. What kind of boundless? What kind of boundless?
Limitations.
Huh?
Limitations.
No, that's what boundless means. But what kind of boundless is this?
Not only live germs, there is few things that we are not expecting from things.
Look, he's saying that the things that are created, the things that we find changing, For example, rain falls, plant starts growing. Plant is the limited thing, limited, bounded. Okay. The plant is limited. Okay, the fish is limited, the frog is limited. The things that are created are limited, but the thing that causes them is boundless. Okay? The thing that comes before and after. Okay, the thing that gives birth to the limited thing, and the thing that it dissolves into is the boundless. অতীত এবং ভবিষ্যৎ মানে বর্তমান is the limited thing, but অতীত and ভবিষ্যৎ is the boundless. Okay,
I mean, it's not water.
it is definitely not water, because water is bounded. Water is bound. Earth is bound. The boundless is something, is like an essence of something. We don't know what it is, but they're guessing at some kind of essence. A third philosopher from Miletus.
Third philosopher from Miletus was Anaximenes. He thought that the source of all things must be air or vapor. Anaximenes was of course familiar with Thales' theory of water, but where does water come from? Anaximenes thought that water was condensed air. We observe that when it rains, water is pressed from the air. When water is pressed even more, it becomes earth, he thought. He may have seen how earth and sand were pressed out of melting ice. He also thought that fire was rarefied air. According to Anaximenes, air was therefore the origin of earth, water, and fire.
Okay. What do you guys think of Anaximenes now? Do you guys agree with him? Okay, Anaximenes. Anaximenes says what? Let's recap.
Earth, water, and fire.
Air is the thing that is causing
Earth, water, and fire.
Fire.
So air, he's saying that air is responsible for earth, water, and fire. What is fire? Look at your text. What is fire? Fire is rarefied air. Purified air. Rarefied means purified. So, fire is purified air. If you purify air, it becomes fire. That's what he believes. Fire is purified air. What about earth and water? What is earth and what is water? Earth is
Pressed with sand.
Mixed with a lot of elements.
Earth and sand were pressed.
Read.
Water was condensed air. Means water pressure was there.
Water was condensed air. Water is condensed air.
And earth is sand.
Earth is sand. Where did you find this?
Sand were pressed out of
No,
melting.
when water is pressed even more, it becomes earth.
Exactly. Water is pressed more, it becomes earth. Pressed water. The idea is like this. Water can turn into ice. Ice is solid. And then he concluded that if water can turn into something solid like earth, that's where earth comes from. He is just using his logic to figure out these things, okay? According to Anaximenes, air was therefore the origin of earth, water, and fire. Continue.
It is not a far cry from water to the fruit of the earth. Perhaps Anaximenes thought the earth, air, and fire were all necessary to the creation of life, but that the source of all things was air or vapor. So, Like Thales, he thought that there must be an underlying substance that is the source of all natural change. Nothing can come from nothing.
Okay. So what was the last sentence? He thought that there must be an underlying substance that is the source of all natural change. He also agreed. There is an underlying natural substance that is the source of change. This mysterious substance, what is it? Still it's mysterious.
We didn't figure out.
Right. So yes, we don't really know these things, and this mysterious substance is the subject of is the subject of study, or is something that has been questioned by philosophers, even modern philosophers. Keep on asking, what is this thing? What is this thing that causes the change? Okay, continue. Nothing can come from nothing. Translate, nothing can come from nothing. What does it mean?
If there is nothing, so nothing can be created or found from this nothing.
Sorry, say that again.
If there is nothing, so nothing can be created or founded from this nothing.
Explain this. You can explain to me in Bangla.
যদি কিছু নাই থাকে সেখানে কি আসবে? Nothing can come from
Yes.
nothing.
কিছু থেকে কিছু আসে না।
কিছু থেকে কিছু আসতে পারে না।
হ্যাঁ, কিছু না থেকে কিছু নাই আসে। কিছু না থেকে কিছু না আসে। কিছু না থেকে কিছু আসে না। কিছু না থেকে কিছু না আসে। You understand? What does nothing produce? Nothing.
Nothing.
This is all these things. It's nothing complicated. আপনারা ভাষার প্যাচের মধ্যে আটকে যায় না। Nothing comes from nothing. Okay, simple. Okay, continue.
These three Milesian philosophers all believed in the existence of a single basic substance as the source of all things. But how could one substance suddenly change into something else? We can call this the problem of change. From about 500 BC, there was a group of philosophers in the Greek colony of Ilia in southern Italy. These Eleatics were interested in this question. The most important of these philosophers was Parmenides. Parmenides thought that everything that exists had always existed. His idea was not aligned to the Greeks.
Alien.
Alien. This idea was not alien to the Greeks. They took it more or less for granted that everything that existed in the world was everlasting. Nothing can come out of nothing, thought Parmenides. And nothing that exists can become nothing.
Okay, so the idea is this. They took it more or less for granted that everything that existed in the world was everlasting. Things that exist in the world are forever. They always stay in the world. Okay? Is this too complicated for you guys to understand? Who didn't understand what I just said? Huh? পৃথিবীতে যা থাকে সেটাই থাকে, সেটা কখনো গায়েব হয়ে যায় না। ঠিক আছে, যেটা থাকে সেটা থাকি, সেটা গায়েব হয় না। এটাই হচ্ছে সিম্পল কথা।
দিনের শেষ সময় তো স্যার সিম্পল কথা আমার তার উপর কাজে এক্সারসাইজ
Why so? Why do you think so?
Because they have to think a lot. Yes, sir.
nothing comes from nothing. Please.
Okay, I don't know. There's no way to do this, but do you guys have a class after this?
No, sir. No, sir.
Stick around for another 10 minutes so that I can cover this. Okay? This is a 1 hour class. Why are you guys acting like this? Please don't do this.
6 hours.
Okay, and the other idea is nothing can come out of nothing, which we already discussed. Thought Parmenides, and nothing that exists can become nothing.
What is it?
This is basically saying the same thing. But Parmenides contributed.
But Parmenides took the idea further. He thought that there was no such thing as actual change. Nothing could become anything other than it was. Parmenides realized, of course, that nature is a constant state of flux. He perceived with his senses that things changed, but he could not equate this with what his reason told him. When forced to choose between relying either on his senses or his reason, he chose reason.
Okay. What's being said here? Sorry? Yes, yes. Who wants to volunteer? Who has a good voice? Hmm? Sorry? So no, time's not. I said I'm going to take another extra 10 minutes. Okay. Look, for your own good, because we have to cover the syllabus. Okay. Okay, if nobody wants to volunteer, I can read. No problem.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Parmenides, you guys follow carefully. Parmenides realized, of course, that nature is in a constant change of flux. Okay? He perceived with his senses that things changed. He perceived with his senses that things changed. What are your senses? What are your senses? Senses. What are your senses?
Our eyes,
Sight, smell, touch, taste. These are the five senses. Okay. What does he say? He says he perceived with his senses that things change. With his senses, with his five senses, he sensed that things are changing. Clear? Nothing complicated.
Yes.
He can see, for example, that things are changing. He can touch and he can touch something and see that, yesterday or two years ago this was firm. 2 years later this is breaking down, this chair or whatever. So he perceived with his senses that things change, but he could not equate this with what his reason told him. এটার সাথে reasoning, logic, বা আমরা যেটাকে কমন সেন্স বলতে চাই, সেটার সাথে সামঞ্জস্য নেই। সেন্সেসের সাথে রিজন সামঞ্জস্য নেই। When forced to choose between relying either on his senses or his reason, he chose reason. If he's, for example, if he was given the choice to choose between senses, if he was asked, you can either rely on your senses or you can rely on your reason, he's going to choose reason.
Yes.
Why? We are now going to read. You know the expression, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yes.
You guys understand? But Parmenides didn't believe things when he saw them. Parmenides did not believe things when he saw them. ও দেখলো পুরোপুরি বিশ্বাস করেনি বা বিশ্বাস করে না। He believed that our senses give us an incorrect picture of the world. Our senses, our five senses, give us an incorrect picture of the world. অপরিপূর্ণ বা faulty একটা picture দেয় পৃথিবী সম্পর্কে বা দুনিয়া সম্পর্কে। A picture that does not tally with our reason. As a philosopher, he saw it as his task to expose all forms of perceptual illusion. This unshakable faith in human reason is called rationalism. A rationalist is someone who believes that human reason is the primary source of our knowledge of the world. Okay, I'm going to briefly explain why he does not believe it. So the issue is this. You guys understand perceptual illusion? Okay. There are things we see that are not true.
Yes.
Do you guys agree?
Yes, sir.
This is his primary reason. Can you guys give me examples? Morichika. Very good. You guys understand Morichika? Who doesn't understand Morichika? Yes? Anybody? Everybody understands what a Morichika is. Right? You don't? You don't. Anybody else? Apnara? You guys go to the desert.
Yes.
Okay? You guys go to the desert, you're very thirsty. At some point, you're going to start seeing an oasis, a pool of water, surrounded by date palms. And you'll run towards it. By the time you get to it, you'll realize that it's nothing but sand.
Yes, sir.
Perceptual illusion.
Yes.
Your eyes are fooling you, your brain is fooling you. Okay? Or let me give you guys a more simpler example. When you're alone at your home,
Yes, sir.
Someone is over.
somebody is pacing around the house. Nobody is there, but you're seeing it. Does it exist?
No.
Yes.
It might exist, it might not. Long story short, it's a perceptual illusion. Okay? It might not be, by the way. But Parmenides at least does not trust his senses for this reason. He believes that our senses cannot be relied on completely.
Believe on the reason.
He believes in reason. Continue. Somebody read now.
This unshakable faith in human reason is called rationalism. A rationalist is someone who believes that human reason is the primary source of our knowledge of the world. All things flow. A contemporary of Parmenides was Herodotus, who was
Sir, pronunciation double.
Herodotus.
Wait, on your book, what is it? What is written?
Heraclitus.
Heraclitus. Okay, maybe there's a spelling mistake in my notes. Heraclitus, sorry.
A contemporary of Parmenides was Heraclitus, who was from Ephesus of Asia Minor. He thought that constant change or flow was in fact the most basic characteristic of nature. We could perhaps say that Heraclitus has more faith in what he could perceive than Parmenides did. Everything flows, said Heraclitus. Everything is the constant flux and movement, nothing is abiding. Therefore, we cannot step twice into the same river. When I step into the river for the second time, neither I nor the river are the same.
Okay, you guys are probably familiar with the expression একই নদীতে দুইবার পা দেওয়া যায় না. Yes or no? Are you guys familiar with the expression or not?
Yes.
You're familiar with the expression, right? Exactly what it means. Because a river is constantly flowing. And you are also constantly changing. How could you step into the same river? The river is not the same and you are also not the same. Right? Continue.
Heraclitus pointed out that the world is characterized by opposites. If we were never ill, we would not know what it was to be well. If we never knew hunger, we would take no pleasure in being full. If there were never anywhere, we would not appreciate peace. And if there were no winter, we would never see the spring. Both good and bad have their inevitable place in the order of things. Heraclitus believed. Without this constant interplay of opposites, the world would cease to exist. God is day and night, winter and summer, war and peace, hunger and satiety. Satiety. He said. He used the term God, but he was clearly not referring to the gods of the mythology. To Heraclitus, God or the deity was something that embraced the whole world. Indeed, God can be seen most clearly in the constant transformations and contrast of natures.
Okay. So Heraclitus does not believe in the kind of conception of God that we have. Heraclitus believed that God is both good and bad. Okay?
Spring and winter.
Spring and winter, life and death. So all opposites,
Contrast.
all contrasts, everything that all the contrasts that we can find, God is in both of them, or God is both of them. This is the kind of thought he had. He did not believe that God is all good.
This universal reason, instead of the term God, Heraclitus often used the Greek word logos, meaning reason. Although we humans do not always think alike or have the same degree of reason, Heraclitus believed that there must be a kind of universal reason guiding everything that happens in nature. This universal reason or universal law is something common to us and something that everybody is guided by. And yet most people live by their individual reason, thought Heraclitus. In general, he despised his fellow beings. The opinions of most people, he said, are like the playthings of infants.
Okay, stop here. We're going to stop here for today. All right. Let me just explain this last part and then you guys leave. Stop. Calm down. Instead of the term God, Heraclitus often used the Greek word logos, meaning reason. So he believed that God is reason, or logos. Logos means logic. And this universal reason is something that some people are guided by, some people less. Some people are guided more by reason, some people are guided less by reason. This universal law. However, a lot of he says, and yet most people live by their individual reason. People live by individual reason instead of universal reason. So there are levels to reason. Some reasons are individual, some reasons are universal. Universal is higher status. And he was very arrogant. He says, in general, the book says, in general, he despised his fellow beings. The opinion of most people, he said, are like playthings of infants. He did not have a lot of value for other people's opinions. Okay, he thinks that their opinions are not that important or not that cool. All right. This is how much we are going to study for today. All right.
স্যার এগুলো কি ট্রানজিশন প্যাটার্ন কিভাবে আসতে পারে?